What are we here for, really? What are we talking about, and why is it annoying you?
Well, I think it's outrageous that all this time has been spent talking about this set of Brexiteer ministers who created this mess by going around and promoting this Brexit. It's led to a disaster so far. They walk off the field, leaving someone else to clear up the mess. And then there's all this attention on them when the impact of this and how it will be felt by millions of people, millions of jobs, not 7 jobs, but millions of jobs, is actually where this whole debate should really be located. So I feel frustrated and angry about that. And I actually do have some sympathy for the Prime Minister in the sense of, although I don't believe it's the most competent government and I don't believe she's been the most competent Premier, she is basically trying to square the circle of fantasy that was sold to the British people.
And is there anything in that fantasy that could become a reality to you? You look at this draft agreement, and look, I'd say to you, look at it from a positive point of view. She has bought us 2 years where we can plan for the future.
Well, let's look at what we have got. People call it a deal. It's not really a deal. It is an agreement that includes the UK paying a divorce bill of over £40 billion for a trading relationship that has not been guaranteed. We have absolutely no certainty about what the future trading relationship will be, because that will be negotiated after we've left. And, I can hear so many of your listeners saying, oh, God, you guys, you just drone on. Just get this thing done, which is basically what the Prime Minister just said in her press conference. The British people want this done. The problem is, and I hate to be the bearer of bad news, it's not going to be done, because for us to negotiate a free trade agreement, which the Prime Minister says she wants with the European Union if Brexit happens in March, it's going to take a minimum of 3 years. 3 to 4 years is what people have told me. So this is like the end of the beginning. But really, the real negotiation around what our relationship will be like will only start from March. I'm sorry.
I tell you what people are also saying. Why has it had to be so difficult? Why has it have to have been so hard? I was talking to John earlier, and I'm saying it's like being a member of a gym and saying, do you know what, I don't want to pay those subs anymore.
Yes.
I'd like to leave your gym. Thank you. Or not, I'd like to. I'm going to leave your gym. It seems to be a simple transaction.
I'm going to leave the gym, but I want to carry on using the facilities.
And that's it.
And then with the gym,
that's an associate membership.
And then when the gym management says, I'm sorry, it's not quite as simple as that, you say, aren't they so unreasonable, those gym managers? They're refusing to allow me to carry on going just because I've stopped paying my subs.
I think the truth, this Brexit, Brexit and the European Union, I think during the original referendum, the most searched question was, what is the European Union, I think, or what does it do? And I think it just illustrates, I have to confess, I've been banging on about us staying in the European Union and the need now, I think, for a people's vote to determine what happens at the end of this process. But there's all kinds of things I know now that I didn't know even just 2 years ago. And I remember actually when Tony Blair and John Major in that campaign were sent over to Northern Ireland, and I was told, I was part of the Stronger In campaign, look, the 2 former Prime Ministers are going over to warn that Brexit's going to potentially pose a threat to the Good Friday peace agreement and the settlement there. And I was like, oh, hang on, guys, I think maybe we're going a bit too far here. People have accused us of Project Fear. And, if we start saying Brexit's going to jeopardise the Good Friday, I think people are that's a step too far. And as it turns out, what has been the principal issue that has stood in the way of just this preliminary agreement being reached? It is the status of the border on the island of Ireland.
I remember asking a question of the Northern Ireland Secretary about this in the House of Commons when I was an MP, and just trying to highlight this in the immediate aftermath of Brexit. And she was utterly poo-pooed. And isn't there a huge gulf? It's extraordinary, isn't there, how much time we've spent talking about Northern Ireland after Brexit, and how little time
that's right.
we spent talking about it before Brexit. And the very unionists who say that they're passionate about Northern Ireland, few of them seem to show the slightest concern.
But the unionists,
before.
John, who live there and who have to live there, they see this as the beginning of the end. You were at the start of the beginning or whatever. They see this as the beginning of the end, because eventually, whatever backstop is created, they see this 10 years down the road, 20 years down the road, as Northern Ireland be cut off. It will be a united Ireland.
Although that, and who am I? I mean, to kind of give a view in a sense. I'm not from Northern Ireland, although I visited. But the interesting thing is where public opinion has gone in Northern Ireland, because although Northern Ireland narrowly voted to remain, now the figures who, when people are asked the same question, there is a huge majority because of the close economic ties and all the rest of it. And so I think that's the thing about this.
Chuck,
whole
I
Brexit.
understand that, but there's also a tiny minority who will use violence, as they have done in the past, and that is always the worry to bring about change, and nobody wants to go back to that. That is the big fear. Because although we'll talk and we'll disagree, we won't kill each other with guns.
Yeah. And I think actually that there's a lot of misunderstanding, both about the position of the Republic's government and also how people on both sides of the border feel, and how, if there is physical infrastructure separating the Republic and Northern Ireland, how that leads to violence. A lot of people don't really connect the dots.
And a lot of people don't care. You're right, because someone like me, I've lived through a border, but there's a lot of people who do frantically care about it. It's the symbolism of it, and it is there to be magnified and
like
abused.
The police, for example, the police service of Northern Ireland is absolutely passionate that there should be no infrastructure on the border. But the DUP position in all of this is quite interesting, isn't it? Because they're both strong and weak. They're strong because the Prime Minister needs them for the electoral arithmetic in the House of Commons, but they're weak because every time they try and argue a position about Brexit, all guys like you and I have to do in studios is remind them that the people of Northern Ireland voted to stay, and that they don't represent the people of Northern Ireland on their position in Brexit, not least because, as Chuka points out, people in Northern Ireland, their position against Brexit grows ever more strong with each passing day.
There's a big centre ground in Northern Ireland that isn't spoken for, because here the DUP, they've got a voice in Parliament, and on the other side of the community divide, you've got Sinn Féin, who've got a voice in the Dáil. But if you're in the middle, where's your voice, particularly given the Assembly's not sitting anymore? That was what gave so many people a voice in Northern Ireland, and they don't have voice in this debate.
But you know what's interesting, Chuck, about Northern Irish politicians, whatever side of the divide they're on? Boy, are they difficult negotiators. They are bruisers. I mean, you look at the DUP, Sinn Féin, you look at the impasse that we have with devolved government in Northern Ireland. And I do often say, if you were going to negotiate a deal, why didn't they put some of those guys in a negotiating party? I mean, they are tough nuts.
Yes, yeah. But ultimately, I suppose with the DUP, they, on the one hand, they have a strong bargaining position. On the other hand, they don't wish to precipitate a general election. So, but I'm afraid, I don't think this whole process has been a good advertisement at all for British politics. I mean, there is gridlock and there's impasse here. And
is there a way out?
The only way out I can think of, short of a general election, is for the people to determine what they want to do now we know the form of Brexit. That's been the problem. You to kind of, I suppose, I sense you're moving to a wrap up here, but where you started was talking about this binary, this binary choice. And you can't reduce such a complex issue to a binary choice. But at least we'll know the form, and then people can make a decision.
Well, look, thanks for your opinion. Thanks for your input on all
Pleasure.
of that. That's Chuka Umunna. He's the Labour MP for Streatham. He's an advocate, as you gathered there, for the people's vote.